before the day's over, I want you to realize how fortunate and how lucky you are to get a great education here. We work with wonderful teachers. They're deeply committed. They work very hard. They give up their lunches. They come in early. They stay late. They spend their weekends and holidays here doing everything they can to help you be successful. And I hope you take great advantage of that, because the best predictor of the future is the past. Think about that for a second. The best predictor of the future is what you've done in the past. And over the next 6 years, you'll have a chance to set yourself up, because the best predictor of where your life will go is the first 18 years and how hard and how much effort you enter into your education. It's so important. You are the class of 2018. In another 6.5 years, you'll walk across the stage, and my goal as your building principal is everybody that's sitting here today will walk across the stage. Last year, the graduation rate in the Talawanda School District was 99.2%. That means about 2 students didn't make it. That's incredible. But I want to do better than that, because my goal is everybody's important and we want everybody to be successful. But let me talk first about one of the real essential things that you have to be able to do to be successful. I want you to think in your head, and then keep this number. How much time do you spend reading every single day? Do you spend, and that's outside of the school day, do you spend 1 minute a day, 2 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day? I know some of you spend an hour a day reading every single day. Put that number in your head for just a second, because there was a study that was done, and with that study, here's what we learned. There's a direct relationship to how well you do in school with how much time you spend reading. Read anything, but read. And let me show you what that chart looks like. If you spend 0 minutes a day, the result will be you'll be in the bottom 10 percentile, or the bottom 10% of your class. So if you're not reading, you're hurting yourself. Please read. Read anything. Read a comic book. Read something. Because when you read, you improve your chances of being successful. If you read just 1 minute a day, you move up. That's serious picking up a book, picking up a magazine, picking up anything, and reading. It will improve your success. 2 minutes a day, even 4 minutes a day. If you read 15 minutes a day, 16 minutes a day, you'll score in the top 70 percentile. That means if there's 100 people standing there, 70 percentile means that you're in front of 69 different people. 15, 16, 17 minutes a day. If you read an hour a day, there's a good chance you're going to finish up in the top 2 percentile. That means that if there's 99 people, you're in front of almost all of them. And that's what we want. We want to encourage you to pick up a book and read. It is so important for your success. Please don't forget that. Education has changed a lot. I've told staff members here that in my first 30 years, I saw a lot of good things. But between 30 and 35, I saw more things in that 5-year stretch than I've seen in the first 30. And now that I have a few years beyond that, in the last 2.5 years, I've seen more things happen in the last 2.5 or 3 years than I've seen happen in the first 35. There's a lot to be seen. And I have a little clip I'd like to show you that kind of shows that what we did as educators a few years ago is completely different than what we need to give you for the future. And by the end of the day, you'll have a good idea of what that future looked like. So here's that clip. But as you can see, the way we teach 3 and 5 years ago needs to change for you by the time you graduate. And before we get done, you'll see 3 or 4 other clips that will help show you not only where we're at today, but where we need to be by tomorrow. Raise your hands if you have the internet in your home. Almost everybody. That's a big change. Raise your hand if you have a cell phone. Almost everybody again. And one more time, raise your hand if you use texting on your phone. Almost everybody. How many times this year has your teacher said, okay, pull out your cell phone, we're going to take a test?
That'd be awesome.
Okay, hold up. In time, that will change. Let me explain exactly how that works. Your teacher may say, we're having a quiz today. Pull out your cell phone, and when you get ready to send it to somebody, she'll give you her or his email address. Because all cell phone providers now have a conversion unit built in so that when you text somebody to their email address, it will convert over and send it to the teacher. Your teacher on the smart board may show you question number 1. They'll ask you to put your name. They'll ask you to make sure that you have the class period. Then they'll put number 1, and then the answer would be A, B, C, or D. You would answer it, and then she would go to the second question on the smart board. Again, you would answer A, B, C, or D. Finally, at the end of the quiz, we only have 160 spots to work with, but at the end of the quiz, the teacher is smart enough to know that she will count down, and when she hits 0, you'll all send at the same time because you're pretty tech savvy. And if you can send it whenever you want, I know that McKinley can send it to 5 of her friends, and they'll all have the right answer. And so we can't do that. Instead, we have to do 3, 2, 1, send, and your quiz was just sent to your teacher. That evening, your teacher didn't carry any papers home. She'll grade it. She'll send it back to you. She'll get returned. And sometime that evening or first thing the next day, you'll have all the answers. She will have entered all the grades. There was no paper in any way, shape, or form, and there are high schools doing that right now. And before you finish your high school, my guess is you're going to be doing exactly the same thing. We're moving to a paperless society. There are countries in the world that have the post office, and every one of you have your mail delivered at your home every single day. There are countries that are saying, we're not going to do it that way anymore. It's too labor intensive. It's too costly. All mail will be done through the internet, and all packages will be sent through a mail service with a central location where you go and pick things up. And mail, as we know it today, slowly but surely, is going to start to go away. Well, things are changing, and they're changing in a big way. And so you need to be ready to address that. Let me share another example. I went into a science teacher's classroom to observe that teacher, and he said, I want you to get in groups of 2 and make sure that everybody has a cell phone with a camera on it. 5 years ago, that was a novelty. Today, every cell phone has a camera on it. The teacher said, we're going to walk outside and I have 15 trees that have been identified for you. You're going to take a picture of the large silhouette type look at the tree and then the tree's leaf. We're going to do it in 20 minutes. We're going to bring it in. We're going to download it onto our computer. We're going to put it on the template so that we identify those trees and those leaves. And then your activity for tonight is you're going to determine which tree is the original first tree ever found on Earth. And then you're going to share the evolution of how those trees developed over the centuries after. That's your assignment. Again, that's another example of using technology that you currently have in your hand to help yourself become more successful, using it and challenging you to think just a little bit. Cell phones change rapidly. I have a 3G. There's now a 4G. Let me share an example of a leakage of what the 5G cell phone might look like that you'll be using sometime in the future.
Hey, what's up YouTube, joining here. There's been many rumors of the iPhone 5, but just this morning this video has been leaked. As you can see, this is possible footage of the new iPhone 5. As you can see, we have access to the gigabytes are, so it obviously represents a dev device and not fully released yet. The camera doesn't look too much different, but as you can see, we no longer have that chrome bezel around the camera. And Sony was saying that they're going to incorporate a camera on the new iPhone that's possibly up to 8 megapixels. So that's cool. That's possibly the new Sony camera that's available. And design-wise, nothing's really too new. It's probably going to be like the iPhone 3G to the 3GS, just going to be a little special. As you can see, it appears to be a 64 gigabyte model, so Apple's going to start including a 64 gigabyte iPhone, which is awesome. Now the software on here appears to be the new iOS 5. As you can see, we have the new multitasking and the new folders, which I think is pretty cool. As you can see, if we drag an icon over an icon, the folder will actually be a whole pop-up widget, almost like a whole window that pops up. It's really cool. So that's what all we can see for now. As you can see, he's playing a little bit of games, playing some Angry Birds. That's pretty much it. So guys, what do you think about this? Do you think this is legit? Do you think this is fake? Do you think the iPhone 5 will be different? For the final release, when do you think it's going to be released? So leave all your...
The new technology is a lot for me to keep up with. When I need answers to technology, I go to my son. He's out of the country right now, but the other day we talked to him on a phone call. We could see him, he could see us, we could have a nice conversation. The world has changed dramatically. When I was a kid growing up in Ravenna, Ohio, we had what were called party lines. There were 14 people that shared the same telephone line. And when it rang at my house, it rang at 13 other people's houses. And as you picked up the phone, they would ask for somebody, and if it wasn't for you, you hung up. And if it was for you, you wanted to make sure everybody else was hanging up so they weren't listening to your phone call. That's a far cry from what we have today. The technology has changed in a big way. Your classroom will not just be the 22 or 23 students that are in your classroom with you. It's about to change. If your English teacher asked you to find 4 6th grade pen pals from other countries around the world and to work together to create a cooperative world peace plan, could you do it? Could you find people in other countries? Are you pretty tech savvy that you can do that? My guess is every time I've talked with a group, the answer's been the same. Sure, no problem. Do you have internet friends that are in other school districts? Yes. What about other states? And how many of you have a tech or a pen pal that's in another country? Raise your hand. You have communicated with others in other countries. Eventually, you're going to be asked to do more and more of that because the world is becoming much smaller, much closer as a result. Here's my prediction. Before you graduate from high school, as a class of 2018, you won't carry textbooks. Textbooks will become a thing of the past. They'll go away. You'll be carrying computers. And we're actually having conversations now about what can we do so that the fees you pay for your computer. And you might end up with one computer for 3 years here at the middle school, and then you keep it, And after 3 years, because technology is changing so quickly, that computer will be obsolete. And you'll buy another one when you get to the high school that will be an upgraded version that will give you the opportunity to do a lot of things that you need to and would like to do. But my prediction is, before you graduate, you'll be carrying a laptop computer that won't be much bigger than the size of your phone that you're carrying now. Let me share a couple of examples of what that could look like. Hold up, please. Hold up. The next clip, I know it sounds interesting and it's a big change. The next clip is a clip that will share what computers may look like before you finish college. And the technology, in some cases, is already being used. The virtual keyboard is already being used and is available on the market. So here's an example of what computers will look like in the future. Okay, let me bring you back in here a little bit. That's pretty impressive, wouldn't you agree? That's the technology that is already available on the market. And as a matter of fact, when I saw a presentation at a technology trade show, first of all, they explained that the pen was a computer, that the watch would be linked up so that you could store all your information there, and that there was an attachment that could be made to glasses, so that in fact, by touching or holding your glasses properly, you can see your calendar of all the events or the answers to a question that you might have on the back side of your glasses, and nobody else would know that you have that information. That's how it's being. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hold up. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, gosh, when I take a test, I can just look at my glasses and I can get all the answers. And that's very true. However, let me go one step further. With tomorrow's technology, more project-based learning will go into place than we've ever seen before. That means that you don't just do a paper, you don't do memorization, because the memorization is there at the tip of your fingers. You can pull it up, you can find it, you can have it delivered to you. It can be completely discrete. But it's going to change in the fact that you might be asked, your science teacher might say to you, to contact 3 6th grade pen pals from other continents and to do a cooperative project that requires you to exchange seeds of native U.S. trees to determine if the trees can be shipped internationally, because sometimes there are reasons that they can't be shipped, and that when they come back to our school, we'll plant those trees, and eventually our classroom will become an international classroom of trees and shrubs and things because we've worked to do that. Would you find this type of project-based learning interesting and fun? And wouldn't it be nice to have plants, trees from all over the world growing in your building? That's an example of, you're going to be doing more project-based opportunities as opposed to just in-class type things.
If I get one of them in school, I'm going into the bathroom.
But wait, there's more to the future than just technology. The country identified with the highest rate of obesity, that's above the ideal weight by 20% or greater, and the highest rate of overweight school-age children is? United States. And don't be surprised if in the very near future, the beginning of your school day begins with you stand up and you go through a stretch and isometric strength routine for 6 to 8 minutes every day, and that your lunch becomes divided in half. You have 20 minutes to eat and 20 minutes to walk a mile every single day. Because schools are doing that all across the country because we need to do a better job. We now have the national nutrition standards in place, which means that we used to do a lot of things with chocolate. It was a great incentive or motivator. I love chocolate, but chocolate's not quite so allowed as it once was. The national nutrition standards are going into place. And why? Because according to Newsweek magazine, our school-age children spend too much time sitting and not enough time doing other things. You're going to find that not only will phys ed change, but this is a middle school gym in Columbus, Ohio. They have converted their school into a climbing wall, fitness facility, zip lines that go from one end of the gym to the other end of the gym. Pretty interesting. And the opportunity is there are several different challenge levels or courses. As your school year goes on, in this particular middle school, you have a chance 6 times during the year to challenge yourself to see what better shape or fitness you have grown into. Those opportunities are probably just around the corner for you. Don't be surprised if in the near future you hear something of what's called flexible scheduling of classes. In other words, there may be a class available next year at the middle school for 8th grade students that would start at 6:30 and go to 7:15, and it would be called strength training or fitness for those athletes that want to be high school athletes that want to lift 3 and 4 mornings a week very seriously to get bigger and stronger. And then when you get to the high school, there may be another class that's before school. But the flexible schedule doesn't just cater to that group. Let me share some other classes that are incorporated into the flexible schedule. In my last high school, we had a marine biology class. It met Monday night from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Those students went to practice and then they went to their Monday night class. During spring break, our marine biology class, 32 of them traveled to the Florida Keys and spent that week doing research and having first-hand opportunity to work with and see some of the nice things that were going on in that environment. And some of our students eventually made the decision to pursue that career. On Wednesday night, it might be a class that is the All-Star Jazz Band class, and it goes from 5 o'clock until 7:30 for those students that really love to play. It's an extra class with an extra credit. The teacher starts later in the day, finishes later in the day, so they still work the same number of hours, but you have the opportunity to participate. And it's not just open to students in our district, it might be open to students in 4 or 5 other districts, and the All-Star Band would consist of really all-star students from across the area. Or we also work to, and in Ohio there are 2 schools now that are doing what's called mall school. You get to your senior year and you apply to work at the local mall. During the first 2 Fridays in April, you'll interview, and they'll assure you that you have a job your senior year for 20 hours a week. But the good part is, you can earn 2 credits for work study. On Tuesday night, there's a mall school class at the mall that lasts 2.5 hours to teach you about how to use a computer for scanning, for inventory, for purchases, for keeping track of dollars to determine when $20 turned up missing out of the cash register. You'll learn those things in mall school. And because you're getting 3 credits, 2 for work study, 1 for mall school class, you only have to go to your traditional high school 3 periods of the day to take care of your English, science, and math. And if you're a person that works late at the mall, you can schedule your classes late in the day. You can sleep in. And if you're a person that does lunch hour at the mall, you can schedule your classes at the high school at the beginning of the day so that you're at the mall by 11 o'clock. Your opportunities will change dramatically. Not to mention all the classes that are available online as well as after school hours. A lot of changes. So phys ed will change, structuring will change, and obviously your health and wellness will become more of an issue. It'll become something that becomes important to you. Manufacturing jobs.
Welcome to the future. This is the welding shop, also known as the bodybuild area. It's a sea of robots, 275 to be precise, that fuse together many of the spare parts of the car.
This area here is where we assemble all the hoods, vent lids, and doors for the final vehicle.
Some of these robots are enormous, standing 7 feet tall and weighing 2,000 pounds. Here, one robot picks up an external door panel, while another one places an internal panel on top. Then, this robot welds the 2 pieces together. Finally, it lifts the completed door and carefully places it onto another pallet. Then it's off to the main buck. The main buck holds the car's left, right, top, and bottom sides in place, while the robots weld each of the pieces together. These robots perform their tasks within 1/1000th of an inch. The entire process takes less than a minute.
That's really starting to look like a car now. Marshall, we're now at the end of the actually body.
As you can see, I remember when I was a senior in high school. My high school was located between Akron, Ohio, which had 4 major tire factories, Youngstown, Ohio, which had some major steel plants, and just to the north of us, some car factories. Those were great jobs. Everybody knew that when they graduated from high school, they could get a job in one of those factories. Matter of fact, my senior year, one of my closest friends, Danny Farmer, who was an honor student, was an all-conference first baseman, turned 18 in April. And in the middle of in the middle of the baseball season, with just over 1 month before he graduated from high school, he turned 18, he was hired at the Lordstown stamping plant to build cars, and he quit school because he could make a lot of money. Those jobs no longer exist. The last time I saw Danny Farmer, he was unemployed. He didn't even have his high school diploma. He quit early. Those jobs are gone. How many men or people did you see, women, in that factory on the floor? 275 machines, and not a single human being in any of those pictures until you get away from or you talk to a supervisor. And those are the manufacturing jobs that you have to be ready for. When you graduate, you need to be college or workplace ready. And that's an example of jobs that existed just 15 and 20 years ago are gone. They've gone away. Matter of fact, Ohio is one of the states that's often referred to as a rust bucket state. We didn't prepare well enough for our students, and now there are a lot of unemployed graduates that are going to other states to take jobs. We have to be aware of what that can do to us. But here's another big question. What is the number one reason people lose jobs in America? Well, they are unemployed, that's correct. I'll give one other person. Technology. That's a good answer, but here's the correct answer. The number one reason people lose jobs in America, according to the United States Department of Labor Statistics, is their inability to get along with their co-workers or their boss. People skills, relationship skills, being able to take a situation and work through it. And that has to start here at the middle school. You have to learn to get along with everybody because that's the number one reason people lose jobs. The number two reason, lack of initiative. Lack of initiative means going to work every day, being on time, giving a full day's worth of work, and living with the attitude, I'm going to leave it better than I found it. And that's a piece that second semester as your principal I'm going to address with you because my goal second semester is to see every classroom with every piece of homework done at a 90% clip on time. We have to do better if we're going to help you compete in the real world. There are other 21st century skills besides ability to work with others and work ethic. You have to be able to problem solve. You have to have technology. You need to be able to stand up in front of a group or your classmates and speak well. You need math skills. You need to have a better understanding of how the world works globally. And finally, I want you to see this clip. It's what the world will look like, and Corning and Microsoft have said it'll be in place by 2018 when you graduate. me finish up here. Then we'll go to first period so that we can take care of attendance. I also have to, I have a list of people that are going to the